Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to discuss about uh, a concept which is called short polling, then long polling, and then WebSocket. How these things are different among each other, and what are the trade-offs. So this is a very beautiful concept. So let's get started. So uh, what is short polling? Let's discuss about what short polling is. So we have a client and then we have a server. Okay. We have to establish communication between them. So what client and server does, clients and server they do is uh, they establish a handshake. Okay. First they do handshake due to which a connection gets established between them. So a client sends a request to server, after which the server can uh, send back the response to the client. So this is the basic concept. First, establish a handshake that uh, we have to set up a connection to transfer the data. Then our TCP connection is set up. Then the client sends a request to the server, and the server sends a response back to the client. So what happens is that the client sends the request to the server. Okay, but sometimes what happens, the server is not having the data. There is a delay in having the data, so it cannot send the response to the client. Okay, so in that case it will send an empty response, like I don't have the data right now, so take the empty response. But it may happen that in the future the data comes. So in that case what we can do is we can then we can un you know remove the connection for some time. Then after some interval we can establish the connection again, like an interval will be of 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour. Then we'll establish the connection again, and then what is going to happen is, if the server is having the response, then it will directly send the response to the client. Okay, or if it is not having the response, then it will send an empty object. Okay, so like we can have it in the system, like we can have it in an interval. Uh, uh, we can establish connections in intervals, like 30 minutes, every 30 minutes. Like we may get a data sometime. Like, but the con is that uh, we may get the empty objects a lot. Okay, suppose we are having an interval of 5 minutes. Okay, and the data comes after 30 minutes. Okay, so six empty objects we will be getting from the server, right? So this is a con, that we will be getting empty objects a lot. We may get a lot of empty objects in the worst case. So this can be the con. And then what we can do is, uh, but suppose we are having uh, a newsfeed application, right? In that case, we want the response. We want a real-time response, right? For suppose 30 minutes interval we have set in short polling, right? So in 30 minutes we don't get any object, but in other 30 minutes we may get the object. So like the we will get an empty object in the first 30 minutes, And suppose the object comes in the 35th minute. 35 After 35 minutes the server gets the object, okay? And at 30 minute the server has had already sent an empty object to the client, right? And the server gets the data at 35th minute, okay? But the interval is of how much time? The interval is of 30 minutes, right? So the TCP connection will again be established after 60 minutes, right? So 30 minute after 30 minutes it was established, then after 60 minutes it will be established. But the data the server had received at 35th minute, right? So there is a 25 minutes of gap. So if the connection is again set up at after 1 hour, then the client will get the data from the server. But there is a 25 minutes of gap. So suppose there is a newsfeed application where we want the data at the time the server receives. In that case, it will have a delay, and that is not acceptable, right? So this is a drawback of short polling, where the intervals may cause some disruptions during the process. When we have a real-time application, then that can be a problem. Then let's see about long polling, and let's see how it can improve the con of the short polling. So long polling is basically uh, the client is there, okay, and the server is there. The connection established after handshake, right? So suppose the client sends a request and the server uh, does not have any response. So what will happen is it will not send an empty object, okay? It will not send an empty object. So first con of the short polling was it might send a lot of empty objects. So it is now reduced, right? Now the client and the server is you know not sharing empty objects between them. So what the server will do if it does not have the object in itself, then it will not send an empty object, but it will not ca cancel the connection which established. It will not cancel the connection. It will keep the connection open. Uh, so what will happen as soon as it gets the response, the server gets the response, it will send the response to the client, right? So the connection is not, uh, closed if it is not having an empty object. So that is that con of the short polling is reduced in the long polling, right? The Okay, so in that case, what can happen is as soon as the server gets the response, it sends the it sends back to the client. So in the real-time applications, it can be used, right? But here is another con of long polling, like the first con, that the connection will have to be open for infinite time, right? We don't know when the data will come to the server, right? So it may happen that the connection may be established for infinite time. So this is not acceptable, right? So for in that case, what we can do is we can keep the connection open for some time, like 30 minutes. So the 30 minutes, the connection will be open. If the server gets the data between the third, I mean within the 30 minute, then it will send the response to the client. If it does not get the data within 30 minutes, it will send an empty object uh, after the 30 minutes. Okay. So this can be done implemented in long polling, but There may be another drawback, like if the server gets a response at 35th minute. Okay, so the connection was closed at after 30 minutes, right? And it had sent a response to the client, after at the end of the 30th minute, which was an empty object. But the server received the data at 35th minute. So it will cause some disturbance. Like again, uh, the connection cannot be reestablished as it was getting reestablished in the short polling. So this is one of the drawbacks of the long polling. So there is another concept which is called WebSocket. So let's see what it is and how it can improve the con of the long polling. So WebSocket is again having a client and server. Okay. So what happens in WebSocket is the connection is established after handshake as usual, but the connection is not removed. So in long polling also the connection was not removed within some interval. Here also the connection is not removed. Here is the connection is not removed. So some similarities there between WebSocket and the long polling. So here what happens is that here what happens is that here the connection is bidirectional. It means that the client can send the message to the server and the server can send the message to the client, right? So in this way, the messaging can happen. Like it's not unidirectional that earlier the client was only sending a request to the server and the server was sending a response back to the client. Here the client can send as many messages as to the server and the server can send as many messages as uh, uh, to the client. So this is what WebSocket is. It is bidirectional, and the connection, similarly, the connection here uh, does not break, or we don't remove the connection, right? So in this way, like uh, if at any time the server gets a response, it can send the response to the client, right? So it can be used in real-time applications like messaging systems, and also in gaming, because in gaming we have an interaction, right? So in these cases it can be done. And one more thing, that uh, there can be a lot of, like, one client is there can be a lot of servers, so it can receive messages from different servers and you can send messages to different servers like we do in the WhatsApp, right? So this is an advantage of WebSocket. So this is all about short polling, long polling, and WebSocket. And I hope your concepts are cleared in this video. If you found this video informative, please like this video and share with your colleagues, and also subscribe to this YouTube channel. We'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.